Good morning, everybody. On this Tuesday, September 16th, 2025, I got all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work. We're going to dive into Candace Owens and what she had to say in her jaw-dropping video yesterday. 300,000+ people watched it live. Unbelievable stuff. Several million views since then. Regarding Charlie Kirk, she claims to have some insider information, sources saying Charlie feared and was pressured into taking certain meetings just weeks before the untimely death. We're going to get into what she thinks. I'm not necessarily endorsing this. There's a lot of information that still hasn't come in. We're being told that today the indictment against Tyler, I believe Robinson, will come in. He's the man that has been alleged to have killed Charlie Kirk. Again, in the country we live in, he'll get a trial. He'll get to defend himself, or he'll admit that he did it. So far, no confession from him, although the folks around him and his family apparently have pinpointed him as the main suspect. So yeah, I'm going to share several clips of what Candace had to say. After that, we'll talk about the victory lap the Department of Justice is taking, possibly prematurely, and then get into J.D. Vance and more divisiveness as he blames this violence on the left. It's absolutely wild. And then more on Venezuela as another boat has been destroyed by the United States. 3 men killed, claims to be narco-terrorists. Could this escalate to the, what is now already a ramping up of military in Puerto Rico, which could lead to a hot war with Venezuela? Was that on your bingo card? And at the end, Tom Brady, come on, greatest quarterback of all time. He was my hero. Well, it looks like he's taking that Saudi Arabian money. That money was too good. I mean, does the guy need it? Hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm going to get into that story at the end. So lots to get into. All this and more starts right now on The Rush. And as you guys know, if you follow my channel, I try to make the morning episodes a little bit more morning friendly, not too heavy on the news. But the truth is, the story is moving too fast. We can't wait for the afternoon. We'll have to see if the Department of Justice does get their indictment out. And what do they have other than the security footage we've seen? The truth is, we're putting a lot of trust in them as they give us these moment-to-moment updates. So I will get into all of that, but first, several clips from Candace Owens. She's essentially sharing how the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, wanted to do a meeting with Turning Point USA, the company created by Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk standing on his morals, and again, this is Candace Owens and her sources' interpretation, rejected money that I guess would have helped finance him. And he, I guess, was beginning to speak out against what many are calling is a genocide. That is the war that is going on between Israel and the people of Gaza. And of course, one-sided in the fact that there's been, I mean, who even knows how much collateral damage at this point? I mean, to be quite honest, I don't know the numbers. You don't know the numbers. The whole area has been reduced to rubble. Either way, I want to be steadfast in my belief that you can criticize the Israeli government without criticizing the Jewish people. They don't go hand in hand. Anyone who tells you they do is trying to control your thoughts. And I think it's fair as our government not only helps fund Israel in these wars, but also a lot of lobbyist groups pay to different politicians across the aisle in order to, I guess, make it hard for them to change their opinion on things. So Candace is going to make the claim that Charlie Kirk was saying no to that money. Now, do I believe that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by someone who was, in the deep Israeli government? I don't have any evidence of that whatsoever. And I would caution people to leap to these conclusions. Let's definitely see what the government continues to put out as far as evidence is concerned. First, let's go to Candace. I'm going to share several different clips about what she has to say regarding the weeks leading up to his assassination.
He spoke to him 2 weeks ago. Again, you would think he was busy fighting this 97,000 front war, but no, he's letting you know that he just randomly, picks up the phone and calls Charlie Kirk and invites him to Israel? Why would Bibi do that? It seems like maybe there's a little more to the story. No, there definitely is a little bit more to the story. First and foremost, that letter he is holding up, he is severely misrepresenting. Those sentences are real, but I am calling upon Bibi Netanyahu, the dear friend to Charlie Kirk, to publish the letter's entire contents. Like, don't start with just 2 sentences.
And again, this is a letter that he was sharing Netanyahu after Charlie Kirk's death to claim what a close friendship they had and whatnot. But Candace claims there's more to the story. Now, I don't want to call her a broken clock, although a broken clock is right twice a day. I'm not saying that whatsoever. She's being sued by the French government, by the French president for a defamation, which is a completely different case. So we've been covering several different things that Candace, I mean, she's a provocateur. She gets a lot of things right, and she's probably gets some things wrong too. I think she'd be fair to admit that. So we don't necessarily need to piece this all together now, but I do think it's interesting to hear what she has to say as someone who's in that inner circle, allegedly, according to her.
Publish the entire thing. You're holding it. I'm saying you're severely misrepresenting the contents, that in May, Charlie was concerned about Israel and their influence on American politics and how they were pushing things that he felt were in conflict with his beliefs, free speech here in America. Bibi's holding it up like Charlie just in May said, hey, you know what? I just want to write a love letter to Israel. That's how it was presented. Would you guys agree? That's not how it happened. Now, regarding that phone call and that invite, that also needs to be contextualized. And I'm going to do that. But first, Skylar, can we bring in a clip of Charlie from a month ago speaking about the kind of pressure that he was under? Because I think that will also help to further contextualize this. Take a listen.
I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was...
So they go back and forth. It's kind of painful to listen to, of the yelling over each other. But they're advocating for free speech, that you should be able to criticize what's going on and, not fear as though you've been labeled an anti-Semite or not labeled, whatever. And whether he's, I want to say this, the odds that this shooter was a lone gunman who was radicalized online, that's probably like 90%, and I understand that when you hear conspiracies that, well, maybe the government wanted to get rid of Charlie because he was turning on it's to me currently still remains fan fiction, but you've got millions of people checking this out. I'm not judging people that are asking questions. I just want you guys to know that. Usually, I think a lot of people get shame for whatever conspiracies they're sort of consuming. And I'm not here to shame anybody whatsoever. I'm just going to have to wait to see more information come out before I get to that place. But I also don't blame Candace for not accepting what she's seeing as like PR coming from Netanyahu. Oh, we were so great, the love letter, from Charlie. And she's saying, not the case whatsoever. So let's jump to 1628 here. This is where she starts to talk about Charlie being invited to Israel. And she claims, now Charlie's deceased, so we can't know for sure, but she claims Charlie felt like it was a threat, like it was re-education camp for him.
Record, and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure. And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat. I got to tell you that. It felt like a threat, like not like, hey, come here and we can educate you because you're my friend. More like, this is your last chance. That's how it felt to me. I can't speak to how it felt to Charlie. And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Bibi would fund it, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as like, re-education camp. We've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. We just need you to come out to Auschwitz.
So these are wild claims by Candace Owens right now. And again, she's not on the outside of this one. She's got DMs from Charlie. She's got sources over there. Again, none of this means that the shooter was Israeli or anything like that, that he was a patsy, that, there's a lot of questions that people are asking. He was running, where was the rifle? How did he stash it and take it apart? How did he get up to the building? Lots of questions unanswered. My thought is to remind people to just take it slow. Take it slow, folks. A lot is still coming out. But again, I'm not going to shame anybody for, consuming this content and wondering what other sort of forces are at play here, because we don't have the answers. I tell you what, though, we are already hearing from people on Twitter. Candace was making big claims against Bill Ackman. He is a billionaire hedge fund guy, and he claims she was slandering her. I'll have her response to this. Let's just reset the deck, take a quick word from our sponsor. We'll be back with this next. Today's podcast is sponsored by Rula. Telehealth has made mental health care more convenient and accessible for millions of people. Finding a suitable therapist, scheduling appointments, and the expensive out-of-pocket costs still keep many from getting the care they need. Rula is on a mission to make high-quality mental health care from a licensed professional easy and affordable for everyone. Rula takes most major insurance plans, and the average copay is only $15 per session. Rula supports every aspect of your mental health journey, from therapy to medication management, and with its diverse network of licensed, experienced professionals, it's easy for you to get the care you need. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. Head on over to Rula.com/rush-hour to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support the show. Tell them we sent you. Go to Rula.com/rush-hour. Take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares. So Bill Ackman said this afternoon, Candace Owens slandered me by accusing me of staging an intervention with Charlie Kirk in which threats were made with respect to his supposed evolving stance on Israel at an event I hosted in the Hamptons. Candace intimated that I blackmailed. Now, so he makes this whole claim that Candace intimated that I blackmailed. Candace said that she would be very happy for me to dispute this narrative. While it pains me to drive more traffic to her program, I'm responding here to clear my name. It saddens me that we live in a society where social media influencers seek to monetize the death of Charlie Kirk. At no time have I ever threatened Charlie Kirk, Turning Point, or anyone associated with him. I never blackmailed anyone, let alone Charlie. Never offered Charlie or Turning Point any money in an attempt to influence Charlie's opinion. In fact, my interactions with Charlie Kirk have been extremely cordial, albeit limited, regretfully so, as I was very impressed by him and his work, and I will sadly never see him again. Either way, that's his answer. Now, Candace says, check your ego. I do not need you to make my platform bigger. Don't confuse your mysterious wealth with influence. You were contacted with plenty of time to respond with your receipts and did not. I know feigning victimhood is kind of an Israeli brand thing, but I was clear that Charlie felt blackmailed by the offer to fund TPUSA, which he refused. No one said Bill Ackman blackmailed Charlie, try to resist the urge to rewrite history. And again, I just want to be careful here. Candace is very flippant, saying this is an Israeli brand thing. Let's just try to keep this very specific. Candace has made many claims, many of which I don't defend, about, different organizations, different countries, different ethnicities, things like that. And folks will say, why are you platforming her? You have to remember, she's already got millions of views on all of this. This is probably going to be the biggest story of the day, other than whatever indictment news comes out. This story about the claims she's making. And folks in the comments are saying, Candace, watch out. You're like, you're really rattling the cage here. And she says, I don't care. And you know what? So be it. So I'm going to share one more clip from her, the 51-minute mark, in a few minutes. We're going to get back to that. But we have some other news I wanted to cover regarding Charlie Kirk. Here's Pam Bondi. What a joke this lady is. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, I should be kind. We love Pam Bondi. Don't come after me. And here's what she says as she takes her victory lap about finding the alleged killer.
This was solved so fast thanks to the work of Kash Patel, the FBI, and all of our local partners working together. And the state government is prosecuting it now. They will indict most likely tomorrow or this week.
And that's today. And by the way, I mean, look at it. She says this was solved so fast by Kash Patel. You guys have to understand something. They were offering a massive reward with any information about the killer because they had no effing clue who this was. It was like a cold case, okay? The reason why they found the guy, Tyler, who's the alleged killer, is because his own family, I guess, was responsible for helping turn him in. But again, as of right now, we don't know if he's actually confessed. It's just like, well, people around him have. And if you've looked at our short form content at D Neal's Rush Hour with Dave on Instagram and TikTok, you'll understand that, you know, what you're hearing from Kash Patel is odd. Well, we found a note, but the note was destroyed. What dog ate my homework bullshit is this? Don't give us the information unless you're going to give us the whole information, because I'm not just taking people's word for it at this point in this government without some cold, hard facts. Here's JD Vance. This is JD at Charlie Kirk's, doing the intro for the Charlie Kirk show, which is pretty insane as the vice president of the United States that he's doing the intro for a podcast. And he says, we have crazies, but not like far left lunatics. How is this uniting us right now? Have a listen.
People on the left are much likelier to defend and celebrate political violence. This is not a both sides problem. If both sides have a problem, one side has a much bigger and malignant problem, and that is the truth we must be told.
Oh, he really fumbled that one. Can you do a retake on that, JD? Did you see how he had a flat tire there?
And while our side of the aisle certainly has its crazies, it is a statistical fact that most of the lunatics in American politics today are proud members of the far left.
And by the way, I don't think there is a card you get if you're on the far left. Like, I could see saying proud members of the Democratic Party, but the far left, like, what does that even mean? I've had my own family claim I'm far left, and all I want is universal health care. I want folks to be able to go to school and not get shot, maybe even cover college and don't run up the bill with these crazy interest rates you got to do when you take loans out. Maybe grocery prices go down. Maybe we don't go bankrupt because we have to make the tough decision about going back to work because child daycare is too expensive and we don't have any paid maternity leave. You know what I mean? Like these are centrist ideas, you know, in most countries, maybe not here, but not far left. So what do you mean when you say far left's the most violent? And by the way, I don't want to play this game. I really don't want to play this game, but you put it into Chat GPT, it spits out all the different sources. These are the trends, folks. 76% of domestic extremist-related killings were carried out by far-right extremists. That's between 2014 and 2023. Now, don't be mistaken. I'm not claiming if you're a member of MAGA that you're a far-right extremist. We're talking about the absolute wackos that do the violence, right? In the period of 2022 to 2024, the Anti-Defamation League tracked political killings in the U.S. and found that all of them, 61, were committed by right-wing extremists. The rising number of politically motivated attacks and threats correspond to right-leaning perpetrators. And I think the truth is there's a lot of movements that happened since COVID on what would be seemingly the left, you know, the response to the systemic violence after George Floyd, riots and things like that. But we're talking about a guy with a hammer attacking Paul Pelosi. We're talking about the assassination of two Democratic members of the House of Representatives? What was it? Congress in Minnesota. I'm not here to do this tit for tat thing here, but this is insanity. This isn't some random blogger. This is the Vice President of the United States of America trying to pit us against each other when we don't even know the political leanings of the madman. And even if he did have far left leanings, that doesn't mean those that have left-leaning values, progressive values, or whatnot should be put into that camp. The majority of people, whether you're progressive left, populist right, centrist, the majority of people are not part of these extremist groups, but it's almost like they want to make us have to pick a side. I'm letting my audience know very urgently, don't take this bait. It's not left versus right, it's up versus down. JD Vance, he's bankrolled by billionaires himself. That's what got him into politics in the first place. He literally went from calling the president Hitler to now just sucking his dick, right? And we're supposed to trust what he has to say? These are frauds. These are frauds, folks. So let's continue. Here we have Hassan Piker, who, by the way, was detained for several hours, I believe, when he came back in the United States for questioning here. He's left-leaning. I wouldn't call him far left. But here's what he has to say about these lies that are just being flat out told.
I'm going to repeat this one more time. Democratic lawmakers were assassinated by a right-wing nut job. And these guys said it was the left. So even when the victims are Democrats, and the assumption, understandably, just like when the victim is Charlie Kirk, the assumption is that like this person is probably going to be on the left. When the victim are Democrats, they still think it's the left that did it. It feels like we are held hostage by whatever they choose to believe. They are experiencing collective psychosis, and we just have to sit there and be like, please, I hope you don't. Like, you know how people talk about...
It's so easy. It's just so easy to divide people. And it's true. I mean, there's like a mass post-traumatic stress that's happening out there. Know a little bit about this. I've worked in it. My own father had PTSD from Vietnam, and it comes in all shapes and sizes. It comes from domestic violence. It could come from violence from your own dad. It could come from so many different scenarios. And in the case of those that watch the tragedy play out, it really takes away your critical thinking skills. And it's just a reminder to tell folks, slow the fuck down. Slow down right now, because this is an opportune moment for people who want to divide us to strip away our rights. We saw this after 9/11 with the Patriot Act, to take away certain, to try to, get rid of things like due process, where there's literally were bills that they were trying to put into law, I believe in Florida. I think they just got taken out, but where they wanted to be able to take away people's passports for having opinions or cheering loudly for, if someone cheered about Charlie Kirk's death. It's like, look, I understand protected speech doesn't exist in the workplace, so you might get fired for things you say. That's on whatever profession you're in. But First Amendment still exists, whether we like the contents of people's words or not. So this is absolutely insane. We're going to go back to Venezuela for a second. We'll come back to Candace in a little bit. But this is insane. Another boat has been downed by the United States.
The U.S. military has again attacked a boat in the Caribbean, alleged to be carrying drugs from Venezuela, bound for the United States.
President Trump made the announcement on social media, saying he had ordered the attack and that 3 people on the boat were killed.
And again, he says, be warned, if you are transporting drugs that can kill Americans, we're hunting you. Now, my personal belief is they are provoking a war with Venezuela under the guise of it being this drug, trying to stop the drugs. I don't know what's going on, but we live in a country where you're supposed to get due process. And you might say, well, but they're not in our country. Well, are you bombing boats in international waters? Are you bombing boats in Venezuelan waters? I don't know which one's worse. I'm not good with this, the sort of the geopolitics here going on, but this is insanity, absolute insanity. Maybe there were drugs. We'll never know. The evidence is gone. They've sunk to the ocean floor, and we're just supposed to be okay with it. And folks will leave comments saying, Dave, if you had a family member who died from fentanyl, you would understand. No, the fuck I wouldn't. You know why? I'm okay with, why don't you just wait for those boats, track them. Once they get into U.S. waters, raid them like the Coast Guard, take a big pretty photo of all the drugs you seized, and arrest them. What the hell are you talking about? We should be okay with what's going on here. This is an unbelievable abuse of power. Just watching them absolutely smoke, not to mention how much money is this costing us, so no, I do not support it. Do it the right way. It's like, show your math. You know what I mean? If they had on the boat what you claim they had, wouldn't it be easy to just pull them over? And you might say, well, if they're in international waters, maybe they're going to a distribution center. Wouldn't it be nice to raid that distribution center? Wouldn't it be nice to follow where the drugs are coming from versus just smoke a couple kilos of coke and fentanyl? Here's what Trump had to say.
It's spattered all over the ocean, big bags of cocaine and fentanyl all over the place. And plus we have recorded evidence that they were leaving.
By the way, if you blow up a bunch of fentanyl, that's really bad if that washes ashore. That could kill people, right? I mean, what are we talking about?
We know what time they were leaving, when they were leaving, what they had, and all of the other things that you'd like to have. But we have noticed that there are no ships in the ocean anymore. We're seeing that there's like no ships, when the first one we went, there were hundreds of boats. Now there are no boats. I wonder why.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean you're allowed to do it. That's like a dad who uses force to stop his kids from drinking. It's like, yeah, you can beat the shit out of your kids all you want, but they're not going to show up to Thanksgiving once they're adults. There has to be some diplomacy with how you play it all. Speaking of diplomacy, how about this message from Republican and Democrats? I've been critical. I've praised some of what the governor of Utah has had to say regarding Charlie Kirk. I've also been critical because he's changed his tune and wants to start playing the political game where he's pointing fingers. So here we have a moment of unity. This is sponsored. I guess there's an alliance of the governors, across the country, and this was sponsored by them. A message for unity.
In America today, the very fabric of our nation is being torn apart. We've never felt more divided, and we're too fixated on our differences. He's black, and he's white. He grew up in the city, and he's a farm boy from Utah. He's a Democrat, and he's a Republican. On paper, we couldn't be more different, and yet, we're both dads. We both love college basketball. We both have really stylish haircuts, and we're both proud Americans. We disagree passionately on lots of issues, but we're friends, and we respect each other. Politics is important, but it shouldn't define us or destroy our relationships. His name is Spencer Cox, and his name is Wes Moore, and we approve this message.
And I saw someone saying, well, if they run together, they can be called more Cox, which probably not going to happen. A Republican and a Democrat coming together. Disagree better. National Governors Association. I love the message. Disagree better. Just be able to share your opinion and not hate your neighbor. But at the same time, you have to push back and go, okay, listen, hold on a second. The fish rots from the head. The president, the vice president are both claiming that what's going on is because of radical left lunatics, right? We've also got Jesse Waters and Fox News claiming we need retribution. You have all of these thought leaders and politicians are the ones trying to blame a whole segment of people over what one possible nut job did. So I'm just not buying this message of unity when we can't properly criticize the powers that be without, getting called, all these names, you should be able to, whether it's a Christian criticizing Christian nationalists that grift, whether it's a Republican criticizing those that are trying to divide us. Why are they trying to divide us like this? Well, could it be to look the other way? When they just signed the big, beautiful bill, which is going to, shut down 700 rural hospitals, farms, or can't even sell their soybeans because of tariff wars. Food stamps are gone. So many different issues are going on out there, and we're just supposed to be fighting with each other. And boy, so far that's what we're doing. All right, so. One more moment. I promised that I would get you Candace Owens at the 51-minute mark as she continues to sort of discuss what the hell's actually going on with this case.
On the investigation, you say he admitted that, confessed?
No, not again. He has not confessed to authorities. He is not cooperating. But all the people around him are cooperating, and I think that's very important. There were reports yesterday that we can confirm that his roommate was indeed a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female. That's information that the FBI had mentioned yesterday. We can confirm that as well, and that he is cooperating with authorities as well.
So that is a trans woman cooperating with authorities. Why that part matters, I have no idea. But Candace here, very interested in the fact that this alleged shooter isn't speaking to police and hasn't admitted to any wrongdoing. You know, whatever assumption she's making of whether or not he was a patsy or the fall guy. Listen, we should be able to get plenty of evidence from the gun, the weapon, whatever other footage they have, the Discord chats, things like that. So I'm not claiming that there isn't a whole bunch of evidence in today's world. This isn't, JFK getting shot and there's no paper trail. Apparently, there's a lot. But again, I say apparently because I haven't seen it. And when that indictment comes out, I'm sure we'll have more with that. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so we can continue to follow this. I appreciate how kind folks have been in the process where we are really trying to get this right, not just for our sake, but really so we can stop fighting and just stop the unproductive wars that we have when we all really do want the same thing, a thriving country to live in. Tom Brady, I got to tell you, I'm bummed. Final story of the day, announces he's coming out of retirement to play in a Saudi Arabian flag football league. And I literally had to check, was this April Fool's?
So I'm very excited to announce that I'm coming out of retirement and teaming up with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, Fanatics, OBB Media, and my friends at Fox Sports to launch the Fanatics Flag Football Classic.
I mean, come on. Will I want to watch flag football? Yeah, but you have to understand this problem. Major U.S. comedians are set to perform in Saudi Arabia. They're urged not to help cover up abuses of a repressive regime. Listen, I'm not trying to make this a big thing, how we're trying to cancel people for taking the bag, getting paid. The Saudi government has invested billions of dollars into high-profile entertainment events like these in a deliberate effort to whitewash the country's human rights record and deflect from the egregious abuses that continue to happen inside of the country. Human Rights Watch researcher Joey Shea told CBS News. These investments are part of the broader strategy to have people thinking about a comedy event, for example, rather than this soaring number of executions that are happening inside of the country. That's right. Journalists are being killed for doing as little as tweets criticizing the Saudi royal family. And I bring this comedy event up because many of my peers are going over there and getting paid a lot of money to do stand-up. They also have the Live Golf Tournament, which Trump is somehow involved with, which they're paying golfers hundreds of millions of dollars, life-changing money. Tom Brady is worth so much money, and he needs to come out to throw some flag football event there. Like, how much is he getting paid? But to be quite honest, everyone's got a number. Right? You learned that first day in economics. What's my number? If they wanted to write me a check for $500,000 to go tell some jokes, I mean, I'd have a hard time saying no to that, to be quite honest. I don't know what I would do, so I'm not here to judge those that could use the money. But Tom Brady, really? This is what you're doing? Come on. And anyhow, people argue, well, our country's no better. Although I would argue that we still have a lot of rights that some other countries don't. Look, I traveled a few days in Qatar, and you got to hear from people that worked there about the abuses that took place with kind of like some of like the slave labor that was used to build all of the World Cup events, and how they want the world to see them as a great destination, but it's like all because they've got like a bunch of oil money that they can, get away with literally hacking up journalists, murdering them, and carrying them out of places in suitcases. What are we talking about? Wild time to be alive. Sorry, I know this was a heavy one, but not every episode's so deep. But I'll give updates on the Candace Owens stuff. I find it fascinating. I don't necessarily agree with her, but at the same time, we're going to wait to see what evidence actually comes in, because I'm at the point now where I don't think we should be trusting the Department of Justice with what they say. They make crazy accusations about Albrego Garcia, and then when it comes down to charging him with a crime, they get him on carpooling with some migrants. They said the worst things about him. They've cried wolf to the nth degree. So I'm going to need to see the math before I trust anything coming out of their mouths. We'll be here to report it this afternoon. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.